Hey guys, welcome back to our brand new season of Gear Up with the BotBuilders. My name is Jack and I will be your host for today's episode. And our special guest is William. So William is a very well-known person in the FIRST community. He is a FIRST alumni throughout FLL, FTC, FRC. He's now a mentor, volunteer, and he's also a fun correspondent. So we're going to deep dive into his journey with FIRST and learn more. So let's gear up. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me on.
It's all good. You're very experienced. You've been through the FIRST programs for a while now. I want to kind of take it back. When did you first get into STEM and FIRST, and how?
Yeah, so I actually started FIRST Lego League back in 2016. So I was a little grade fiver, and I barely had confidence. I could barely communicate with people. So that's kind of the start. And then from FIRST Lego League in 2016, I did that for a few years, and then I moved up to FTC when I was in grade 7, 8, I don't remember, in Skystone. Someone can do the math, I don't know it. And then I did FTC consistently up to center stage. And then I've moved on to the mentoring because that's something I've really enjoyed overall.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing it for quite a while now. And I know the great thing about FIRST is you kind of grow throughout the different programs. What was your experience kind of transitioning throughout those different programs?
Yeah, so I think the transitioning between each program, it's each one is different, and they each have something special towards it. So yeah, in FLL, you kind of are it's more of a kind of a team aspect. So you're trying to work with a lot of different people and kind of to the same goal. But in the FTC side, you have this common interest of the robot, but it's kind of everyone kind of has similar ideas, and you don't really need to butt heads a lot more. So I think that's kind of I found in the transition period. And then FRC is just the whole team just trying to work together, trying to get the job done essentially.
So yeah, that's really interesting to hear. And I want to kind of know what inspired you to keep going, because I know for a lot of students, they might find their first season or 2 seasons quite challenging and quite daunting going into it. What inspired you to keep going? Yeah,
so obviously there's challenges with everything. So sometimes there's friction between team members, but what you've got to see is how is this going to benefit you in the future? Maybe not in a month or a week or even a year, but how does the skills that you're developing kind of improve on it? And that's kind of what I saw it as, is kind of how am I going to improve? And I've also had the help from coaches to also keep pushing me as well, so that I've reached the potential. So it's you're not going for I think the saying in FIRST is, don't lower the ceiling, raise the floor, something along those lines. And that's kind of what I think has really encouraged me to keep going as well. So always reaching higher, always trying to do my best. Even if you end up failing along the way, that's fine, because you're learning and you're trying to develop those skills over a course of I don't know how many years.
Yeah, I really agree. Being able to gain those skills is really valuable. And kind of on the topic of that, you are currently in university, correct? What degree are you going for?
I'm doing an engineering degree.
Yeah, so with the skills from FIRST and being a part of a team, how did that influence you in going to that sort of field for university?
Yeah, I think that definitely FIRST has led me to the engineering, because engineering is kind of you're improving the world, but you're also developing skills. So that's kind of the aspect of the outreach side of FTC and even FRC, and that kind of encourages you to go to those fields because you're trying to make a difference in the world. And that's kind of what engineers can do. So they can use the skills that they learn in FIRST, go into their uni, use those skills, develop more skills that are different, and then go into the workforce to try to make a positive change.
Yeah. Well, you are well and truly graduated by now. And I know you are a very well-experienced volunteer. You've been through many roles. When did your volunteering start in your first career?
So I think my first role especially was in FLL. So I was a judge back in Masterpiece. I really enjoyed doing that. So I did another 3 events for it. So the maximum FLL events you could kind of go to in especially in Queensland. And then the following years I've went to Southern Cross. I helped be a robot inspector. I was a cure at the Southern Cross Regional in 2024. And then going into the submerged season, I was consistently wanting to go for more FLL judges because seeing what the students have been able to kind of make and to create over the course of the season is a really great accomplishment, and you can kind of see all that hard work. And same with the roles for FTC is like I've been a lead robot inspector to robot inspecting, just to queuing and refereeing, and it's just a really great way to be involved and also help the next generation. And it's that continues to go onwards. So more like last year, I volunteered at like 8 overall FIRST events essentially in a 9-week span. So it's just a really great experience, and I'd recommend all FIRST alumni, FIRST students, just to go to some of the events. It's a really great. You get to see the work of the students, and it's just a really great vibe overall.
Yeah, and I know for us students and the event, we really appreciate the volunteers and the hours that they put in, because the events just simply wouldn't run without them. What sort of role do you think students don't see too much, or you think would be interesting that they could know a little bit more about?
I think probably one of the most interesting roles to be in is there's kind of 2. There's the FTC judge, and then there's the FTA side. So the FTA side, you kind of are at the front of the field, and you get to see errors that, whole kind of, not errors, but little mishaps throughout, especially throughout the competition field. So like you can see some of the times the driver hubs disconnect because they put it to the wall and it kind of disconnects because of the driver hub. Or sometimes at one of the competitions I saw an artifact land on a driver station.
Wow.
So, and then there's the FTC judging side, which I can go into more a little bit later or now.
Yeah, well, I want to quickly ask you, you spoke about driver hubs and how they can get easily disconnected. How should teams find a way around that?
Probably one, to keep it away from the wall, because especially this year, teams are smashing into that wall, especially when there's you hit the gate and then the artifacts go rolling around, but something to protect it as well. So I think there's, do you want to talk about it?
I would love to, William. So if you go to botbuilders.com.au, go to our resources tab, you can find our FTC driver hub box, and it's essentially a protective case to hold your controllers, driver hub, or Android phone if you use that, and you'll be able to get the CAD file and download it there. Yeah, well, I want to kind of go back into the judging side of things. So you said that, I mean, you've obviously been an FTC judge, and I know for a lot of students, it can be quite daunting going into that room and standing in front of a panel of judges, trying to explain what sort of work you've done and trying to convey the effort that you really put into that season. Can you kind of do a deep dive into what being an FTC judge or a judge in general, even for FLL or FRC, is like?
Yeah, so I think what's obviously when you're going into the room, I even felt it when I was a student going into those judging rooms. You feel nervous because you don't know what the judges are going to interpolate what you've actually done. But the best thing to do is speak confidently, and if you know your stuff, that message will come across. The time that kind of affects you is you've got to be aware of the time. That's always the thing in this one. So sometimes waffling, especially even if you want to be precise and consistent to the point, because if you're not, you're kind of wasting that time that could be asked for other questions. That's one of the biggest advices I would say, is just stop at a certain point.
And I know even like being a judge can actually sometimes be a little bit nerve-wracking. I know the first time I was judging FLL, I think I was more nervous than the students were. It can be quite a scary thing for judges also. So I think that's one thing that students should keep in mind, is that sometimes the judges are actually feeling the exact same way.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. It's like when I was first doing the FTC judging, I was quite nervous because I hadn't done that. I've obviously did the FLL judging, but it's quite different because you have to, because in FLL, there's two things that's important. There's the robot design and the innovation project. But in FTC, it's spanning across 6 categories, and you've kind of have to be not an expert, but just know where each of these discussion points have come from.
And out of all your volunteer roles, which one has been your favorite and why?
I think probably the FTC judge, just because you get to see, one, their robot, but you also get to see, the work behind that, sometimes the engineering process, the iterations that have come to it, but you also get to see some of the outreach and the community service that those teams do. And it's really just inspiring just to see all of the youngest, these teams being able to make a positive difference in the world.
Yeah, I kind of want to flip it over to the mentoring side. You've been a mentor for quite a while, and I want to know, do you have any advice for either mentor or students regarding that field?
Yeah, so there's 2 kinds of advice. You can do advice for beginner teams, or you could do advice for more experienced teams. I'll start off with the new teams. Probably the best advice is to keep things simple and try to get your robot working effectively. Because if you overcomplicate something, then your whole robot architecture will be disadvantaged because of that. So try to keep things simple. And if you think that there's an overcomplicate, try to simplify it and try to work on the build and then work on the programming, because those are 2 different things. And depending on the time you have, if you spend too much time on the build quality because of the complexities in the design, you'll lose out on the programming. And that's I've especially seen teams across my years of competing as well as mentoring, that teams do face those issues when there's a time constraint. But for more experienced teams, I would recommend having kind of redundant features, just in case things do end up breaking, because nothing's perfect. They're robots break, but having a backup system, just in case this one system breaks, you can go on a backup system. So it's allowing for quick adaptability is probably key for those more experienced teams.
Yeah, and how about advice for mentors themselves?
So the advice to mentors would probably be patience, because you may know where you kind of feel like the things should be going, but sometimes you need to let the students be able to find the way themselves as well. So, and there's also keeping especially in a high pressure situation, keeping everyone cool and calm, because that's also a critical part. Let's say if you're a mentor who drive coaches, which is a really good thing, especially able to calm down situations. It's like you can calm the driver down if they've made a mistake, so that they can kind of make sure that they know that it's not their fault. They can just look at it as a retrospective thing. Is like, look what we did wrong, but that's fine, and that's how we're going to improve. And that's kind of what mentors should really try to keep in mind, is how to turn potentially a negative situation, especially in a high pressure situation, into a learning experience.
Yeah. One other thing that you are very well known for online is the Fun Robotics Network. So you are a fun correspondent, and you go around interviewing teams and showcasing robots. And those videos are viewed by thousands and thousands of people online. And I know it actually serves as a real piece of, a real resource to teams to find out some really cool and interesting designs, and as well as just how teams function. I think it's a great way to showcase FIRST. What's your experience as being a fun correspondent?
I think being a fun correspondent is really fun. It gives teams an opportunity to show what they've done over the course of the season. So some of the learnings that they can give to potentially new teams. But some of the experiences I've had is kind of not frustration, but frustration. When there's teams that say, oh yeah, I have a match now, and then you can't give an interview until the very end of the competition, and then you have to fit 3 teams at the end of the competition. That's not the most fun, but it's really good and rewarding to see the interviews come out and seeing like the reaction of all of the students that have been involved in that. So that's kind of a different side. Is the organization of the interviews is kind of a pain, but the end outcome is really good for everyone else and everyone just to share and just in total for the community. The other thing that, including with fun as well, I've been involved with Building Block Robotics as well. So I'm a vendor on the unofficial FTC Discord. So I'm involved in some of the product development, the testing, and the marketing as well. So trying to especially when the V3 slide inserts were coming out, the BBR went to the community to get feedback from that. So like an example was the mounting hole on the other side of the pulley. So that's something that's bringing in other first teams' input is actually really good, because sometimes you don't think about what you don't think about, kind of. So that's also something that's another interesting thing other than being a fun correspondent.
Are there any teasers we could get to any new products coming out in Building Block Robotics?
Yeah, maybe. So potentially the future of gears.
Future of gears?
Ooh, gears. Ooh.
Wondering what that means.
Well, you have to wait and find out.
Yep. Well, I know you've been a mentor and have done a lot with FIRST, and I guess a common goal is being able to give students that don't have the privilege of being able to compete in FIRST a shot at it. I want to know, why do you believe all students should have access to FIRST? I think
having access to FIRST really kind of gets students out of their shell, and it gives them skills that they can use in further life. So communication skills is a critical part, and it's not just about the robot. It's about so much more. Critical thinking, skills like resilience, patience, communication, being able to communicate with the public, just even communication with the people who you disagree with, or being able to come up with other teams to try to focus on a goal. That's those skills can be used for the future, and that's why all students should be able to have access to FIRST, because those skills it's not just about the robot. The robot is really just a small part of it. It's just so much larger than the robot.
Yeah, and it really has a chance to change your life. I know it's certainly changed mine and thousands and thousands of students across the globe. How did it change your life?
So, like I was saying at the beginning of the interview, I was quite nervous. I was quite shy. I barely spoke to a lot of people. I barely had any friends. But through FIRST and developing the skills, like I mentioned before, has really helped me personally come out of my shell. It's like, I'm not a very sporty person. I was born with a disability, and I was never able to really get those skills from sports. But through FIRST, it's a different avenue to get the same end up result. And it kind of helping with all of the community outreach and community service has also really put a positive outlook on especially what I do as well. So that's just something that has also changed my life as well. So I can now see the next generation and trying to help them potentially reach the same highs or try to reach their potential as well.
Yeah. And if you could give a final piece of advice to either mentors, coaches, vendors, or students of FIRST, what would you give?
Just give it a go. If you've never done FIRST, just give it a go. That's my biggest piece of advice. Just try something. If it fails, that's fine. You've learned something. The best teacher is failure. So if, let's say, you're designing a robot, dream big. Don't limit yourself. Try to. If let's say you dream big and then it doesn't work, you've tried your best, and that's what really matters.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on today. It's been great to talk to you and learn about your experiences throughout FIRST. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me on. Hopefully everything is well for you guys as well.
You've just geared up with BotBuilders and William. Our 14380 Nationals CAD is currently live on our website. So go to botbuilders.com.au to check it out for the full CAD file. And we will see you next time, and subscribe.